Cyclist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
Welcome back to the Tim and Steve Show. I am Tim Beard.
I'm Steve Morris.
How's it going, Steve?
I'm doing well, Tim. How about you?
Yeah, not bad. Rainy day.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm getting rid of the rest of the snow around here, it looks like.
It's got like a little bit of a fog, too, which is nice because fog is like the best snow killer, if you want to call it snow killer. But
I call it the best nap provider.
Yeah. Yeah, I get naps occasionally. I actually did take one yesterday, but I don't usually get them. I slept like crap last night. Like, I went to bed late, and I started to watch. So we have Netflix in our bedroom, or, you know, I could do Prime, whatever, but so the TV stays on for the most part overnight, and I just for so long I've had it that way.
You want to make sure you get all that programming even while you're sleeping?
Yeah. So we watched Two Guns, which was really a good movie with Denzel Washington and Mark Wahlberg, and I think that ended at like 11. And I was like, I'll just find something to stick on, and like Andrew's going to sleep, and I'm going to go to sleep. But what was it called? Dirt or something. Basically, it was about Motley Crue, and I stayed up and watched about half of that because I got sucked into it. I'm like,
you a big Motley Crue fan?
No, but I like stories. I like to know like how like things came together, and it's interesting.
At least what they tell you is how it came.
Sure,
together.
But these guys were crazy. Like the whole Motley Crue thing is because they were friggin' nuts. Like they did crazy stuff. Which I don't know. It's kind of cool, I guess. Now look back.
Wasn't that like the whole thing about rock and roll back in the day?
Yeah, and they were kind of out of their element. Like that music was kind of not in at that point. That was more 70s stuff that they got, but they were new to all of that. And like it was funny because their first like concert ever, like little thing they did, like it starts with a fight, and because they started to play, and like this guy didn't like it, and was it Vince Neil, who's the lead singer, like jumps out and like punches a guy in the face and starts a fight, but then they kick out those people and then like play, and it goes from there. So that's pretty cool. So anyways, I was up late, and then Atlanta got up a few times, and I don't know. You talk about sleeping without your mask on, and I should have a mask. I'm pretty damn sure.
Well, I need, like, my dog is recovering, so I think he's gonna make it. So
seems better.
I need to make my way back into the bedroom because it's been probably over a month now, and whenever I go for my checkup, he's not going to want to hear whatever excuse I have, because I guess I could just go and bring my machine and plug it in near the couch and lay there on the couch. But I'm also getting up because he does wake up in the middle of the night to go outside. So, and I do that to make sure that Nikki doesn't wake up because she's going to work.
Right.
Where she needs to have her mental facilities, faculties. Here, I don't need to be on top of my game to sit here and pontificate how the country is slowly imploding in front of us.
Yeah, so I have a lot to talk about today, and normally, like, I talk more about
small talk,
but before we go into I want to do just like one sports thing that before we get into the topic I want to talk about. So
small talk is over with. Now we're going into local sports, or
then we'll go into small talk again,
okay,
which will lead to the topic anyway. So Newport girls basketball varsity unfortunately fell to Winnisquam 57-45 Wednesday night, ending their season. So it was unfortunate. I think there's a bright future with that team, though. They have no seniors. They have one junior, and the rest are like sophomore and freshmen. So I think next few years we're gonna have some good team. Some good.
Looking forward to
there.
it.
Taylor Fellows is like on track for a 1,000-point career, possibly. It's great. It's fun to watch. So much fun to watch. Try to tell Lydia, like, watch them do what they do, because they're good and they're doing exactly what you should do. Caden, LeClaire, and the boys, same thing. Like, watch these players because they're doing what they should be doing. And
because your goal is to get up there and fit right in with them.
Absolutely.
So you need to be able to figure out
and she played a
the
little
subtleties of their play, because some of them that have been playing all year together or longer may just give a head nod and know to throw it.
The nice thing with, like, Taylor and Maddox Lovely is, like, they're track stars too, so they're fast, and they, like, can jump. They'll jump for a ball to get it, and Maddox, I was very impressed with Maddox. I know Taylor was good. I've heard that she's really good, and I hadn't heard anything about Maddox, and then I watch, and of course they're like best friends too, so the dynamic is all there for like a good couple of year run here, so it's good. It's good for Newport sports. So that's going to end the basketball season for the school, and it's March. I can't even remember now. I think it said March 5th or something like that for signups for spring sports. So soon.
Check the website just to verify that date.
Yeah, verify it's a parents' night sign-up thing. That's the only I wanted to talk about that before we get into the other stuff. So Newport last night had a zoning board meeting, and I get there and so I'm vice chair, and the chair wasn't showing up, and I looked at the agenda. I'm like, this won't be too bad, right? So we get into the meeting, and Bert wasn't able to make it last night. I had talked to him earlier in the day. He had some stuff going on that he wasn't, able to make it. And one of the things was a variance for 169 Sunapee Street, which is the mill building that they're putting apartments in. Wants to take. So in Newport, you have to have 2 parking spots per unit, and they want to lower that number. And it was confusing at first because it was like, you want to lower it to 1.7. And I see something like it's now 1.5. And then he comes on, he's like, well, no, I want 1.25 per unit. And so it's kind of like, why are we getting all this paperwork? It should be just like, this is what you want, not whatever. And so we do the meeting, go through, and we go back and forth and talk about things, and like typical stuff. But I didn't realize, with my very limited experience as running a meeting, once we go into the deliberation of the board, that's it. There's no outside influence. That's it. No one else speaks. Well, the gentleman keeps cutting, speaking in, and me as chairperson, I'm supposed to be like, no.
Point of order.
Yep.
Muting.
And at one point, Christina did mute him, and I guess he unmuted himself, which I don't know. She's like, I don't know how he does that, and of course that's over there. So for me though, we've often had kind of loosely run meetings, which there's nothing wrong with that as long as everyone does what they're supposed to and it's fair and all that. Because you want to be all crazy, stress and orderly, and but I didn't know that you can't do that. So then my pocket's like vibrating at one point, and I pull my phone out. This is during the meeting, and I can tell it's Bert, and I can't answer the phone. I can't. I can't even get up. I just can't. So we get into it. We're through all the questions that you have to answer on the thing, and whatever, and we haven't approved it yet. And he comes in. He's like, point order. Basically, we cannot do what we're doing. We cannot make a decision right now because we broke the law. You can't have this other person, cut in like that. And I'm like, okay. And so I talk on the board, and so what would happen? So if we just approve it, and then it would get appealed, because Bert's like, I'm going to appeal it. And I'm telling you, this isn't legal. This isn't right. You have to follow rules for a reason. And so trying to see what the other members of the board think, because I'm vice chair, but I'm just one person. There's 3 other people here. And we're like, well, if we prove it, then they can, because we had settled for 110 spots, which is 1.57 per unit or whatever, which we had another place we allowed on Spring Street 1.69 per unit, and then there was a 9 9-unit on Sunapee Street, close to there, that a guy wants to potentially put in. We allowed 1.5, and like I said, well, comparable. The 1.5 that's not comparable to this project. 9 units, 7 units, like completely different. It's more, the Spring Street one, so 1.69, and like once you approve these things, like you set precedent. So for us to tell this guy, no, it's 2 and that's it, and end of story. Well, then they can appeal and then go to Superior Court, and in court they're going to say, there's a good chance they're going to say, well, wait, you accepted this one here not long ago.
Take a comparable comparison.
Yes. So, I was open to letting something, I'm thinking, all right, let's give him the 1.69 or right close to that, because that's what we did already. And, but Bert, he came in, he's like, this isn't legal. So part of the concern I'm feeling is, and I can't tell how, so I just said, here's the deal. Christina's saying that, that Bert's right, this isn't right. Jeff's saying, well, we don't know that if it's right or not. Bert's like, are you kidding me? Like, you're the chair of the selectmen, you know. And I don't know what he knows and doesn't know. Again, I won't speak for him. But Bert's really good with the law. Like, you could say a lot of things about Bert, but Bert's knows the law. He knows the law very, very well.
Yeah, he can recite RSAs pretty easily.
And Christina literally said, like, we went too far. Like, if you did a little bit, because we've done it in the past, we needed a clarification or something, but it went way, way, way past that. And so I just made a motion. I'm like, listen, I motion that we rehear this case next month, because I now know in my mind that this is illegal, and I will not accept to say, well, I don't care what you think. No, I know it's illegal.
Unless you take a break and go and look up or call a lawyer.
Exactly.
At that point, the safest thing to do is delay it and figure it out. And if you were wrong, then you acknowledge that, hey, I know we did this last time, but there is an exception, or there is a part in the law that says if a gentleman interrupts over Zoom.
Right. So it's not like.
So did they have anybody at the actual meeting, or were they just over Zoom?
No, it was just over Zoom, which I had also said at the meeting after. I'm like, well, as far as I'm concerned, we should end this Zoom stuff. Zoom was only there for COVID, okay? Now, there's no law saying that they can't do Zoom, but we as a town should be like, well, no, there should be someone here, because there's questions that Christina, who is planning zoning, I don't know what her actual title is, but she runs the planning and zoning office. She knows the project, obviously, probably just as well as the other guys, because the other guys, as in the construction company, because she deals with them a lot, right? It's what her job is. So she was like clarifying some things for us, but that's not her job, though. Her job, when she's there, is to answer questions for us and whatever, but, the company should be.
Yeah, she shouldn't be advocating on behalf of the company.
Exactly. And that was the thing that kind of got into with this whole thing last night.
I don't think, right? That doesn't seem right.
No. So what got me the most last night was, and I wasn't really in a good mood when I went in there to start with, because there's just a lot of shit going on we'll talk about later in the show. But we as a zoning board work for the people of Newport. Just like on the school board, we work for the people of Newport. That is my one job and my only job. So, and I believe in rights of property owners. Like, I don't like zoning. I don't believe in zoning. I'm only on zoning because 2 people ago, the lady that was here for years pissed me off and tried telling me I couldn't do something on my property, which I knew I could. And that's what got me the zoning, because I'm like, this is my property. I'm going to do what the hell I want. And this was because I wanted to build a barn, and they said I couldn't until I had a house, which, no, it's not. No, it's because she didn't want me to build like something for storage or something. But anyways, so I'm a huge advocate for like your rights. You pay the taxes on this, okay? That's it. But in the cases of these property developments, they affect the town, and they affect you, they affect me, they affect everyone in the town. Your own property isn't going to affect you. Now, if you're like, hey, I'm going to put a nuclear waste dump up here, yeah, okay, I'm going to be against it, because now you're affecting your neighbors, right? It's not okay. So your rights go as far as until it's going to affect somebody else's life, and a negative impact or health impact like that. Now, the traffic's going to be, that's life. But so these housing things, I look at them different, at least, anyways. Now, yes, like Spring Street, we approved Spring Street. Spring Street was in a heavy commercial zoning. They could do anything in that property. They needed an exception for the housing part of it. And at the time, we needed housing. And how can we tell them no? Like, they could put anything. Like, literally, the list is crazy of what could go in there. So, this, that one gets approved. This mill building has been sitting there for years. This project's come up a few different times, different owners, whatever. We are solely there for the parking spaces. But what I want to talk about today, and hopefully what the people of town are going to notice, so there was things that happened with that property that I don't think many people in town know, which pisses me off. I know it pisses you off, and it should piss everybody off in town. So all right, let me finish this. I'll get into that then. So give me a second to finish. So that's what we did. We voted 3-1. Jeff voted no, we should just accept it. The other 3 said no, let's rehear it next month. Luckily, I apologized to the owner of it, because at the end of the day, it's technically my responsibility. He was cool. He understood. He apologized that he stepped in, and which was good. And I felt better about it, because he could have been, really pissy with me. And I mean, it's still at the end of the day, it is what it is. But so I was appreciative that he would, and hell, I was like, hey, if it's a rush thing, then let's just have another meeting next week or something. I'm fine with that. Some of the board members, the chair, the zoning guys were kind of like, yeah, but we'll have to hear this case all over again. I was like, well, I don't care if we have to hear it all over again.
Yeah, that's your job.
We heard Spring Street over 3 times because of stupid things. But, we're here for the people of Newport.
The wheels of government are supposed to turn very slowly.
Yes. So I left.
That's the difference. That's why you, as a businessman, get frustrated, because government is inherently designed to not be quick.
Right. And that's why I'm like, I'll get mad because things take. So anyway, so we leave the meeting, okay, and we started heading home. And like I said, one of our listeners who listens all the time sent me a message, and this is to me the best compliment anyone could give me. It was, you just saved my faith in the system. Thank you for standing up for what's right. And that meant a lot. And like I said to him, I was like, I will always stand up for what's right and what's right for Newport. And that's it. I don't care who they are. I don't care how much money they have. I don't care. I represent all the people in Newport. So it is what it is, man. And
I appreciate it. That some of that patience could have been used, from my point of view, at the airport.
Well, that's what,
because it wasn't even an actionable item, and then not one selectman volunteered, thought it would be a good idea to call and talk to other either city councils or selectmen of the towns that have recently flipped from state-run to FAA.
Yeah.
Because you did exactly what you would expect them to do, which is, wait a second, we have conflicting information from the town manager and from the experts that work at the airport. Let's put some time and energy in this and not rush it. What was the rush? Is there any, has there been any construction or any improvements being done on the airfield since, what was that, September, August?
Yeah, something like that.
It had to be done that night, and they had to vote. The town manager is in control of our town.
Yeah.
He doesn't need your approval. He needs your disapproval.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever, man. Anyway, I appreciate your patience, Tim. It's
no,
good.
it just, and you kind of get that. This has happened a few times with companies that have come in, and it's almost like they feel like they're there to do such a service for us to put housing in Newport that we should bend rules for them. And
No.
so the last rule, the last thing in the checklist that for us to give the variance or whatever, or an exception, is a hardship. So it has to be a hardship that they need less parking spots. It's a hardship of some sort, right? And oftentimes, yeah, we could see the hardship. That, like for instance,
Like the river floods, and now there's a new bank, right? And so now there's less land there.
Right.
That would be
a hardship.
To me, that would
right?
sound like a hardship. Like, hey, we were
Yes.
going to do it at 1.69 or 7.5.
Yes.
But now with the ice flows and everything else, this thing broke down. We're going to have to rebuild it, but it'll be beneficial if we build it
Right.
closer in now because we know the flow of the river. To me, that would be
Right. But
an exception.
you can't create your own hardship.
Or hardship, not exception.
Right.
Hardship.
But you can't create your own hardship. So I had mentioned, well, just because it's going to cost you more money to cut into that bank and then retain that bank and whatever, that's not my issue. And
Yeah, that's a failure of your engineers to recognize that before you submitted your first proposal.
exactly. And I'm talking about this.
But I mean, sometimes things come up. I get it, but
And basically, I just want to say, like, I'm talking. So, like, we'll hear this case again next month, and I will impartially hear the case again.
yeah, you have an open
I don't
mind.
have a
Yeah, you don't have a dog in the fight.
No, and
other
I
than
don't-
to protect the.
exactly. I'm not.
Sorry.
I haven't made this like we did what we did last night, but so I just basically this was a public meeting. This was just put out last night. We have to rehear this case, but I'm going to talk about what happened last night and what I don't like that I've seen in the past coming through, which is I feel like a lot of times these companies think that like we're there to make their life easier, and so well it's a hardship because it costs money, blah blah blah. I don't care because I know if I went in there and said to them, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to build a 500 square foot home and doing a 660, which I have to have by the statute, is a hardship because it'll cost me more money." I would get laughed out, and they would be like, "Yeah, okay, that's funny," and they would be like, "We're not going to grant that." So that's how I look at these things. So if I went in there and asked, or you went in there and asked, or some other one and asked about this, and it was a multi-million-dollar project, and you have plenty of space to put the spots in, but they like to use the, well, we're trying to keep it more natural, and
Sustainable. They're using some World Economic Forum terminology.
and they bring you data. Well, this is from the New Hampshire Housing Authority. Okay.
Yeah, data means nothing to me.
I can find you data anyways. Basically, the data is like, because we've heard this before, it's like 0.9 cars per these housing units, whatever. I'm like, well, if these people are working, it's workforce housing, then how, if there's two people in a unit, how would one car, how's that going to work? Or no cars? Like, he's like, some people have no cars. I'm like, not here. Manchester, Concord. Like, there's places that I would totally say, yeah, all right, that'll work. If it's Boston, I'm like, yeah, there's public transportation everywhere, but not in Newport, New Hampshire. It's not there. There's not transportation.
Yeah, and
like
that's
that.
not like centrally located either. So it's
No.
I've seen one or two people walk on that road in the 4.5 years. Like one at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And one walking home. Yeah, like they had their work uniform shirt
Right.
on, so I know they were walking somewhere.
Right.
But that's one.
Yeah.
Or
So-
two people. You know what I mean? It might even be the same person because it was so early in the morning, dark out.
So that's what happened in that meeting last night. It was kind of like a waste, but at the same time, for me, it wasn't, because the valuable lesson was, now I know for a fact that once you're in a deliberate, that's it. You're done. You don't open it back up. Now I know that, and now and Bert's like apologizing to me after. He's like, I'm like, no, like, thank you, because we would have done it wrong, and that I would have felt worse about that than
No, I mean, like the worst that could happen is that everybody would just know,
Yeah.
or you'd have to still rehear it. And
Yeah, it's gonna, like, Brett would have appealed it, and why do that? Let's just do it right the first time.
Right.
I won't do something illegal or wrong just because, well, it's convenient. No, not gonna happen. So that's the meeting part. But now I want to talk about, which I want to talk about this for a while. We haven't really talked about it, which I kind of wish we had, because now they may be like, well, I don't care if you don't want me to sit on the freaking case next time, though. Whatever. But what pisses me off with this project, so this project's been in the works for, I think, since like 16 or 17. They've been trying to do something with that mill building, which would be great to do something with it, because it's a beautiful old building.
I know, it looks like it needs a brewery in it with some high-end apartments above it. Would probably
Which is something at one point was talked about, maybe putting a restaurant, like
something. Yeah,
a lot of things are floated around, but because that stuff's so expensive, and now what these construction companies are mostly doing is tax credits, tax credits. So the tax credit's only good for like workforce housing or whatever. So it's complicated. It's a lot of work for the the contractor or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, wait. So either way, you're building the place with my tax dollars. It's whether it's not just Newport tax dollars, it's everybody's tax dollars because you're getting all these.
Federal
None of
grants.
these guys are building it with their own money.
Yeah, they all have
Like-
lawyers and
Yeah, it's which
they know the system.
yes, which whatever the system is a system. It is what it is.
Yeah, you're not angry at them for doing
No,
that. That's-
not at all. But I also don't have any compassion where things come up and you're like, well, I need the town to make exceptions to make my job easier. No, I don't work for you. I work for the citizens. I work for that. That's what I work for. I don't work for you. But anyways, not long ago, like a month ago, maybe was it a month ago? This company came to the selectmen in Newport because the selectmen are the only ones that can do this, and asked for a abatement on their taxes. I believe they asked for like 13 years or something like that, but the town of Newport gave them a 3-year abatement on their taxes. So $300,000 for 3 years. So they don't have to pay taxes on that property for 3 years. None. No taxes. So here's the thing. This is what pisses me off. This is what we will be getting into much more, and I will be bringing up to the next school board meeting is the town of Newport, as in the town itself, select board, town manager, whatever, they are making decisions in the town of Newport, and they do not care about the effects that it has on our school, because in their eyes, these things come in, it looks good for the town, right? Having more housing looks good for the town. Any of these things looks good for the town, but the liability is all in the school, so that we'll look like the bad people when we go to the town and say, well, we can't afford to teach your kids anymore, because now if this mill building brings 20 new students in that aren't currently in the system, which is very possible, okay? It's $20,000 a kid. It's actually like 21, I believe. That's $400,000 a year that me and you and every other person in this town are paying taxes on for those kids to go to school. In that building that they live in, and they're paying rent and everything else, for 3 years they don't have to pay any taxes. None. So not only do you just accept another $100,000 liability on top of what they would even pay in taxes, you gave them 3 years free just so they would develop it. It's not falling in the river. There's no reason it has to be developed. If you can't make it work, that's your problem. Go find some more money somewhere, some other grants or whatever. But they did this, and then actually was mentioned last night. Well, Claremont just did one of these and gave the people 10 years. Well, Claremont has the highest taxes in the state of New Hampshire. Maybe people in Claremont need to have a fit and be like, really? You just gave this company free taxes for 10 years?
Yeah, they're doing it to our own citizens. Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Take care of the 6,000 that are here. Make improvements on the roads
Right.
and the internet.
Now, hey, I tell you what, if this company said, yeah, listen, here's the deal. You give us 3 years of free taxes, and we'll pave these 3 roads or something like that because, we're tied in with a paving company or whatever. I'd be all for that, because now I see the town actually benefiting from that directly.
So the town's going to benefit from those going in because it's going to produce more revenue on their side that the school will never see. Well, at least those first 3 years.
Right.
So the town will have extra money because they're going to be buying gas, they're going to be shopping, groceries.
Well, permits they have to get, all
Right.
this stuff. Yeah.
But I'm talking about once the
Yeah.
residents move in, like there's no tax coming into the school for the first 3 years.
Right.
But there'll be all kinds of tax dollars coming in.
And
Sales tax.
And
all that good stuff.
downtown Newport is dying. You've got so many vacant places, yet we're so thrilled and happy that we're developing these other places that. So what about downtown Newport? Like, there's apartments above most of those buildings, and that's what keeps them open and paying their taxes. Like, what happens then? Do we not care? We're gonna have a boarded up downtown Newport, but we're gonna have some,
Nice
nice housing,
workforce
places here and
housing.
there. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of decisions being made in this town that are not for the betterment of the people.
Hey, it's easy for me to sit here and second guess because I'm getting second guessed, I'm sure, on everything that I do or don't do on the school board, right? Like, that's part of the thing is we got to answer these tough questions. So,
The differences?
do we know who's running for select board this year? Have they had to sign up yet? I don't think so.
I think next month. I think it's a month before. Because it'll be April.
But these are types of things that we need to ask them. Like, are you more important? Are you focused on saving outside businesses tax dollars so that, or do you want to work together with the school board? Because it's all the same money.
Yeah.
Like, we should be working together and not working against each other.
Right. Is it my left pocket or my right pocket? It's still my pocket you're taking the money out of.
Right.
And I've said that before, and it didn't go over as well. Like, you know.
No, but it's the truth. The truth
It's the truth.
The town and the school are connected.
Yeah.
But when the town does things, like, who do they think they're? So they're going to do things that make us look like bad guys because we're going to have to ask for money because they're giving money away and they're not helping us out.
Yeah, they're giving it away.
Yeah, they're giving it away.
Yeah.
Is it that important? Like, what was I'd have to go back and look at the economic breakdown of what exactly we need these 70 units for, because where are they all going to go work?
Yeah.
Are they going to go to work? I mean, we have
Supposedly.
people in town that aren't even working right now, and we have all kinds of open positions.
Yeah. Supposedly they have
Well, I don't know
to
if
work.
it's all kind, but I see them when I drive, there's a lot of help wanted signs.
And a lot of these projects, they're salesmen. Sell it, sell it, sell it. Whatever happens after, they don't care. They're gone anyways.
Well, it's just like with I'm not going to talk about that, but you got to take your time, and you got to think about other things. I mean, if we just went and didn't think about the town,
Right.
and I don't think that we do that. Like, the town does things without giving a care about the school side of it, is how it appears to me as a citizen and as a board member. My own personal opinion is there are members or they're not even members. It's just how they vote, like on this.
Right.
3 years, like, what did they consider it? I would bet you that if they talked about it, Mr. Spalding was probably at the meeting, and he probably brought it up of, like, have you thought about the impact on kids and on the teacher and the school district?
Right. I mean, I had asked the question.
I mean, even if it's 20 kids and they're spread out, there's still going to be a teacher or two that's going to need to be hired for that.
Yeah, and how many conversations have we had that we can't?
20 kids is at least one teacher. You know, just
But
like if they're all in one grade, that's a class of 20.
But we've had the conversation before. We're like at capacity. We can't take a big. We can't.
No, I mean, we don't
can't
even
take it.
We just said the other day, 32 out of 290 in high school have a full schedule.
And we're trying to get a budget passed this year with a $1.85 increase, and that's so we can hire pairs. That's so we can hire two teachers that we don't have. Like, that is 100%.
Bus driver,
Yes.
2 teachers, or a CTE teacher.
This is 100% to better the school, to make the school better. No pork, no stupid projects, nothing in there that's a waste of money. You know, like the federal government, you know, like, hey, we're getting a rec center in Newport. That's all through federal pork that's in our budget, the money they took from your taxes, that rather than give it back to you, they just spread it all over the country in places. Now, I don't like that, but at least we're going to benefit from it, and I'm going to see it, so I can, all right, let's take it. But we all should be flipping out because, wait, that's how many millions that you took out of, and that happens everywhere constantly. And we're how much? So
Yeah, exactly.
We're
Like, we need to be
31
building roads and
trillion in
internet
debt.
infrastructure, railroads. Like, they need to be repaired.
yeah, but we
We're going to I voted for the community center. We pimped the community center on here.
Absolutely.
We were pro community center
Still
when
are.
it was our
Yeah.
when it's our money because
Right.
we're responsible for it.
Right.
The problem is anytime you let the government give you something, they want something in return. So what are the demands that are going to be on us for that? I wonder if they've talked about that. Again, I stay away from those because of Miss Irwin accusing me of being on the shadow school board. So I don't go because Bert's going to be there, and I'd hate for something to deal with the school. Like this case, like it directly impacts it. Even if I weren't on the school board and I knew about this, I would still want to voice my opinion of like, what are we doing?
I asked a question at a zoning board meeting.
And maybe we're missing something. Maybe I doubt we are, but
It was probably it was probably 3 years ago now. I asked Jeff, who was a zoning board representative. So the planning and zoning both have a representative from the school, from the select board. Excuse me. I'd asked him, like, obviously you deal with the town manager and everything. How many of these do they want us to approve? Because I know in my head, this has an impact on our town. If you approve a couple hundred units and they come in, your town's going to get big overnight, and your school can't handle it. Your school can't
the
handle
police
it now.
force?
The police force, all of it. Like, now I supported the one up across by the airport because it's senior housing, no impact to the school. It'll be an impact to the safety services. Ambulance is going to go there more often. Stuff. It's elderly people, like, obviously, right? But they'll bring in a ton of tax money into the town that won't draw away like the school would.
Right.
Because of the way we fund education. So that was a little easier of a decision to make because of that. Now, if they said that was, workforce housing, I was like, no way in hell. I'll quit the board right now. I mean, you can tell me this is illegal, but I will not approve it because I know what will happen to the town. And that should be what matters. And I was told at that meeting, no, it doesn't matter. We just keep proving stuff. And I'm like, now, most of the stuff we approved doesn't seem to ever happen, but now it's starting to happen. Spring Street started. They're trying to get this one going. I don't know. If you live in Newport, you really need to pay attention, watch selectmen meetings.
Well, it's interesting because, you don't have to look very far. Here's an article from the National Review. Biden and Dems are set to abolish the suburbs. Had a great riff at his rally. Left wants to abolish the police. This is older, but like they want to get rid of the suburbs. They want to bring in large housing because life is too nice out here, I guess. I don't know. Like, why else would you do that? Like, I get it. Like, I wouldn't want to live in a city, but
Right.
Why bring in and establish a city out in the suburbs? Because if you build in high-rise, because they're talking about building 70, 100 unit apartments and pushing people from the city out into the suburbs. So then who's going to live in the city? Are the cities overcrowded? Yes.
I would argue New York City probably not so much after.
They kind of like
after
been
COVID.
destroying
I mean,
it.
they destroyed New York
A lot of
City.
people left New York and California.
Yeah. So
You still should. If anybody from New York or California is listening to this, I don't know why you're still in those states.
I just don't understand. Like, why can't you see that? Literally, Democrats are trying to destroy this country. Not all of them. Not all your local Democrats are bad. Don't misunderstand. But the Democrat Party on a national level, the ones controlling everything right now, are literally trying to destroy your country, and they are succeeding.
That's on purpose.
And they do it on purpose, 100%.
I don't know how many people could argue that they're doing a great job.
No.
That nothing has improved in my life since they've taken over.
No.
On the federal level.
Right. Nothing. So we're going to get into it's odd to talk about this so much, but I guess because it's the Northeast and it's so impactful to us. But the Ohio train derailment, like supposedly today, those chemicals from this thing I saw online, maybe it's fake, but all that chemicals are supposed to be over the Northeast today.
And it's raining.
And it's raining. The president hasn't said anything about this train derailment. It's been 14 days. Buttigieg, who's the transportation secretary, is more concerned about too many white people and construction jobs. These are his words, like straight up. He says yesterday that we have 1,000 train derailments a year or thereabouts. Basically, this one's no big deal.
Like, people are missing the point, right? Like, when I say people, I mean when you go and you look at the social conversation about this. So you saying, where is Buttigieg, the president, and everything else? then a leftist is going to say, oh, so you want the government involved? You need the government to hold your hand? The answer is no. The problem is the hypocrisy of being told that we're destroying the environment, we need to eat bugs, we need to stop eating meat, eat fake meat, do all this stuff to save the environment, then their shoddy transportation railroad system, or a combination of human factor with that, right? Because I don't know if they figured out what caused the derailment yet, so I don't want to.
But then they still someone made the decision to burn these cars of upwards of 250,000 gallons of vinyl chloride.
And they just redid the fact sheet on it too. It's up for review as of like January or something for vinyl chloride. It's all kind of. It just seems weird. It just seems a little bit weird that, and so it's not that I want, like from my perspective, the government to go in there and swoop in, but if the environment needs protecting and saving, then let's try to clean that up at the state and national level, because it has national impacts. The Ohio River Basin and the cause of that spreads throughout multiple states. So it's not just an Ohio problem now. Now it's a nationwide problem because it affects the Northeast, the Midwest, the South, because the Ohio feeds everything. That one tributary, and if you watch the video with the senator from Ohio, J.D. Vance, he takes a stick into one of the creeks that's right off of it, drags it in the water, and then you see, you know, like an oil slick. It's not oil, but like that sheen you get. Like you can see the sheen rising up.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's that big of a deal, then they should be there cleaning it up to protect the other states, so it's not just Ohio's problem.
But, all right, here's the
right, because the federal government's supposed to handle
exactly. So
this kind of stuff. That's what it is. This is one issue where the federal government should be involved, and they're not there.
Yeah, because it's their job to hold people account. The EPA and everything else would hold people account to what just happened. But the reality is they don't give a shit. They literally...
No, they just don't want you to have property.
Yeah, because...
That's what it all boils down to.
They want you to drive electric cars. They want to force you to do that. They want to force... It wasn't long ago the EPA was saying that you shouldn't have a gas stove in your house because it's not healthy, blah, blah, blah.
Like all of a sudden, one day, everybody comes out of that...
When is it, like, let's think,
line of
all these climate change morons out there, activists, oh my God, the Earth's going to be gone in 12 years, 8 years, blah, blah, blah. I haven't heard a goddamn word out of any of them saying, look what just happened in Ohio.
Fix the rail system, federal government. Like, that's the kind of stuff you would expect.
So then they have a town hall out there, I think it was 2 days ago. No one from that train company showed up because they were worried about violence. So they're not answering for anything. And then the mayor, I believe it was the mayor of that city, is basically like the federal government doesn't care. They're just like, the whole thing is like, oops, sucks to be you. And he's like, we'll be damned if you're going to just leave this on us like it's our freaking problem. It's not our problem. It's their problem. You should be here with like the National Guard or something cleaning this mess up or whatever you would do.
If it's as bad as they're saying.
But they're trying to downplay it like it's nothing. Yet people in that town are like, you go outside, your eyes will be red. Like, think of it, chloride is like chlorine. Think about the effects of that. Too much of it, you pass out. Too much of it, you die.
Well, I read the chemical is bad. It affects, it causes cancer, causes birth defects, everything that you don't want in your body, it causes.
Yeah.
Nothing good comes from ingesting, inhaling.
Yeah. But crickets from the federal government on this. Biden is worried about taking your guns, you know, because that's
still talking about. Oh, it was the anniversary of.
Well, there's
Parkland the other day.
Michigan had a shooting, and
it was the anniversary of Parkland.
Was it? So yeah, you need to take your guns because you can't be trusted with your guns. You should trust them. You should trust the government.
Even though
they'll take care of you.
The federal government failed on many levels with most of those shootings. They had reports that it goes back to no one being held to account. They don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Like, hey, you are showing violent tendencies. You need to get help, and you're not going to be with the rest of society until we can figure out that you can function without causing harm to yourself or others. Like, it's not that hard of a that I can agree with.
So
if you demonstrate But see, the problem is, right, so I say that, then someone could watch this and be like, oh, you're talking negative about the government. You're demonstrating. Like, no, I'm demonstrating what it means to be an American or a Texan or a New Hampshire resident.
There's no limit to my First Amendment unless I take direct threats to individuals. Some people...
Right, you can say just about anything.
I can say anything. Anything.
But not anymore because, like I was telling you...
I can still say it.
Like,
people got to stop and say, you know what? You're not going to cancel me. I don't care. I'm going to say what I want. I'm going to say it when I want it. That's it.
You watch all these, and I don't know how many of them are setups or whatever, but if you watch like the people on the street clips, we have some really ignorant citizens out there and young graduates that have no clue about anything.
No.
American history or anything else. And so when you have Canada producing articles where freedom is a dangerous word, like anybody who hears or reads an article from the press saying that freedom is a dangerous word needs to immediately stop reading that and put those out as communist, like propagandists, the enemy of the people. Freedom is all that matters in this world. Is like, and we don't even have freedom. None of us have real freedom right now.
Well, why do you think all these people from, like, okay, our southern borders being invaded?
Our freedoms are very restricted.
They are. But if you look at other countries, so you have all these people flooding into the United States. Why are they coming here? Because obviously the opportunities in America are still better than their country.
Well, we're giving them all kinds of free stuff that our soldiers and retirees and homeless don't even get the benefits of.
Yeah.
They get free needles and lifestyle coaches on how to get high safely.
Right.
That's what Americans get.
But the hypocrisy is so pathetic in this country, especially at least from one side. We care about the environment. Climate change is real. It's a huge issue.
Yeah, that's why you can't really get upset about it, because eventually the truth is going to prevail and all of those communists will lose. I believe that they will lose. I believe that there are enough good people out there that understand the harms and dangers of communism, because this is communism. Like, to sit there and tell you that freedom is your enemy, that's what communists need to control you.
Yeah.
Because once they convince you that freedom's not that important, like, I'll give this, like, and we've all done it, right? Look at the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act took a lot of our freedoms away.
Exactly.
And the excuse was, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, why do you care if they're spying on you? Because I care. Because why do you need to look at me? Like, leave me alone. I need to spy on you. I need to have phone call conversations, transcripts of everything that you talk about with anybody in the government.
Ben Franklin said it.
That's the point of the oversight committees.
If you give up freedoms for security, you'll have neither.
Right.
And that is a fact.
And that's what I said as a citizen going to the school board for 2 years, is like, you're infringing on and you're hiding behind safety and security instead of,
logic, reason.
Yeah, like, you can see the statistics.
People don't understand that your rights are absolute.
Yeah, they're given by God. They're not given by the government.
Right.
Whether you believe in God or not doesn't matter. Yeah. The founders believed in God and said that, and from their perspective, no man, that means no man, no government, no one can take these rights away from you.
Right.
So whether you're an atheist, whatever, it doesn't matter. Your rights come from an imaginary being, and no one can take it away, other than that, an imaginary being that you don't believe in. Right. But for me, I believe in God, and so my rights come from Him.
Right. I mean, read the Constitution.
Or from God. I don't know.
Second Amendment shall not be infringed. What does that mean?
That means only for hunting purposes.
You're right. That means...
How much of a mental intellect... You got to be... Like, you have no intellect if you think that that was written for hunting. Like, you're an idiot, moron.
You have liberated a country.
You have no you haven't studied history. You haven't read the Federalist Papers. You haven't read about taxation without representation. If you believe that that's for hunting, you're an idiot, moron, and I can't have a discussion with you. I'll be polite to you because I believe everybody should be treated with dignity and respect, but I'm not going to have a conversation with you because you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You need to go educate yourself. Just like if there's something I'm saying on here, I need to educate myself, email us and I'll educate myself, and then I'll admit if I'm wrong. It's that simple. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. None of us do. So we all have to have an open mind. Right. Just like they may come back and say, hey, you guys are messing up. Like, it's 3 years of no town taxes, but they still got to pay school taxes somehow. Like, maybe that's the case. I don't think it is.
It's not.
But if it were,
right,
and they did that, I would get on here and apologize to everybody for anything I've said about this.
Yeah, we always correct ourselves.
Try to. But you got to let us know, because I'll let you know that you're an idiot if you think that the Second Amendment's for hunting.
Well, the start of the revolution...
It just doesn't make any sense to me how people believe that.
I know. You don't need an AR to shoot a deer.
Yeah, no joke.
It's not made for that. It was made so that the government never got so big that they fell out of line with the will of the people, which they've been out of line for a long, long time. But
and I hope that never comes to that. It should never come to that. That's why we have representatives. That's why we have these shows, so we can voice people like, let's tell our congressmen and women and senators,
wake up.
Stop what you're doing and go back to the basics.
They are not doing what you... They don't represent you.
Yeah, that's obvious. They represent
themselves. Corporations.
Corporations, yes. That's who they represent. They don't represent us.
Right.
There's a few of them that do, I feel like.
There's some, I think, yeah.
A small percentage.
Yeah, way too small. But think about it, the Revolutionary War started because the British were coming to take their guns.
No. Well, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were going to
on the common or whatever.
Yes,
so they came out.
Yeah, they were going to collect their guns because they were getting the vibe that they were becoming too powerful. And then they said,
"No,
go time." And here we are.
And I hope it shouldn't come to that. We should be able to use our words.
I'm not advocating for that.
Yeah, exactly. But we should be able to use our words and slowly and number one, if you think that there's no problem with the election process, you're crazy. I've lived all over the country. I can't tell you, everywhere I ever lived, there was always a trunk full of ballots. Always is a strong word. There were a lot of instances where there were ballots found in the trunk, and it always seemed to work for Democrats, just so you know.
Yeah.
Because in the past I was a registered Republican, then I was a Libertarian, now I'm an independent.
There's no way that Carrie Lake...
I don't have to hide that from anybody. I'm an independent.
There's no way that Carrie Lake lost to that other lady.
No way. That other lady...
You look at her Twitter followers, you look at her Facebook followers, you look at everything she had online. She had like...
You look at her rallies?
Yeah. She did another Joe Biden. She stayed in her basement, wouldn't answer questions, whatever. But she won.
Yeah, she wouldn't do a debate. All these people wouldn't do debates.
Right.
You're telling me...
Like, and the setup's on.
In Pennsylvania, they had the choice between garbage and hot garbage, right? From my opinion. And they elected hot garbage.
Who's now checked into a hospital to treat for clinical depression. What's he been in Congress for a month? Not even a month. Not even a month.
But I just find it hard to believe that people would vote for him based on just party lines.
He's not likable. He looks like Lurch, sorry.
Like I feel like a write-in ballot or a third party would have had a better shot than either of those two. Just because Dr. Oz is...
Well, he looks like...
As a Republican, he's best friends with Oprah, so he's not a Republican. That was just fake. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Think about that election, though, and how...
From my point of view...
You're so right about this clown world thing, because he's freaking Lurch from the Addams Family, and Oz is freaking... Harry Munster or whatever from the Munsters. Like, if you look at, like...
AOC is an actress, but then again, Lauren Boebert kind of looked like she was an actress the other day with her theatrics, but, whatever. It is what it is. To me, at the end of the day, everybody needs to treat people well, voice your opinion, show up to town meetings, if you can.
Yeah.
It starts at the lowest level and works its way up. It's the only way we're ever going to change anything is to say enough is enough. We don't want illegal immigrants in our town. We don't want, high taxes. We don't want...
They're going to have to spread those 4 million around somehow.
I don't know. It's just concerning to me. I want the best for people, for each other. Like, I want us all to be happy and afford life. Think about how much easier life would be if you didn't have a $600 electric bill for the last however many years it's been $300.
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah, we sell power to Canada, so apparently we have so much of it. They're trying to run a cable, like 154 miles, like under Lake Champlain and stuff, to Canada. And, wait. So...
Yeah, they just raise the prices to make life harder for us. If y'all haven't figured it out yet, a lot of the stuff is just to put the pinch on you, to make you acquiesce to the government's will. Don't acquiesce.
All these food places burning down. So.
Yeah, food distribute. I mentioned this to you earlier when we were talking before the show, and I've said it in the past. If I were a military planner and I wanted to win a war, you cut off the supply lines.
Right.
Our supply lines have been messed with since the beginning of COVID, when those ships were allegedly sitting off of California for months and
just sitting there.
Nothing happened.
Yeah. And what do you think?
And then there's more and more instances. Yeah, okay, I bet a food processing plant or two catches on fire every year, but we have fires. We have the cattle all dying out west. We have all the chickens with this bird flu. The chickens with the alleged food that doesn't allow them to lay eggs if you got the one type. But I don't know if any of that's true or not. But you have all these attacks just on the food supply. Then you have the rail system. I mean, I saw a video, and I don't know if it's true, but it was like the railroad tracks between Ohio and Indiana. And it was the infrastructure. Didn't we just pass a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill?
Yeah, but that was for
the Green New Deal. It wasn't about the real infrastructure.
No,
it was about
social infrastructure. Sex changes and climate activists, or equality for climate. So, you live in a poor neighborhood. We're gonna, it's such freaking fraud right in front of your eyes, constantly.
That's why I try not to get too worked up about it, was because they want us to get worked up. They want you to slip up and say something so they can come visit you. I'm telling you, there's no other.
Come visit.
This isn't because they're idiot morons. This is all on purpose. Them not even responding to Ohio, that's on purpose.
Millions of them need to get pissed off and stand up, because one or two is not going to do it.
Well, I know. That's
millions.
The country needs to ask themselves, is it worth sending my tax dollars overseas instead of really improving the infrastructure of my own country?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Our country's crumbling around as we get and help other countries constantly.
And you got Mitch McConnell still saying, as of yesterday, I think, that the number one priority is Ukraine. Yeah. The number one priority needs to be internally look to ourselves. I mean, you can go back and study history, that if you don't keep an eye outside your country, that can be bad too. So I'm not saying totally turn inward and not give a care about the rest of the world. What I'm saying is invest the majority, if not 90% of our tax dollars internally.
The Biden administration is funding both sides of the war. So we're giving tons of money to Ukraine, and then we lifted the sanctions off of Iran so they could sell oil, and Iran is sending drones to Russia so that they can kill Ukrainians.
Based off of the drone that they probably recovered that crashed over there a few years back.
And this was right from Ted Cruz's mouth, so it's not some story I read. A senator in Washington said that this is what's happening. And,
it's disheartening if you let it be disheartening. But at the end of the day, I feel like people are waking up. Some normal people are starting to realize that something's not right. I don't really even know what it is. I know it's not right. I know it's not the America that I studied, that my parents told me about, that I enjoyed as a young child, even as a young man to some extent. Then once they decided to, what they do is they create a problem, and then you need them to solve it. So then that gives them more power and authority. It's just simple. It should be I'll take care of myself. Yeah. That's how it was in Texas whenever they first became a state. It was, good luck. That's how the Texas Rangers were formed, is because you had to fend for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, literally the Biden administration creates all these issues and then says, we'll try to fix them. You created all the issues.
Exactly.
You shut down a Keystone pipeline day one.
Day one. That's the start of it all.
They've been accused of blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Thank you. That article that was written.
Yeah, and
so
yes,
two instances. You had the missile attack on Poland that, up until right after Trump's weird, awkward speech, it was Russia hit Poland, and then after Trump's speech that night, it came out. I just find that weird, the timing of that. But anyway, it came out that it wasn't Russia, it was Ukraine fired a missile that missed its target and went to Poland.
Yeah.
Then the Nord Stream pipeline. So we're trying to provoke World War III. It appears, based on these articles that show, or in observations, right, because they changed it. So all day long it was Russia attacked Poland, we got to defend Poland.
Yep.
And I'll say it again, since the 90s, after the Soviet Union broke up, has said don't encroach NATO to us. As long as you do that, we'll live peacefully, everything else. And NATO has slowly, over the last 28, 30 years, encroached upon Russia's sovereignty.
Right.
Sovereignty means something to most nations other than the U.S.
So think about it.
Like in the U.S., we've convinced people that sovereignty is a hate word.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be a sovereign nation. How unfair. How dare you?
I saw a meme the other day. It's basically this guy's like, borders aren't real, and like there should be no borders, none, zero. And then it shows a pack of wolves that stop in their territory because
you can see where their collars show. They all have. Even Elon Musk spoke the other day. I don't know if you saw it, but he said to be leery of a one world government. He said, look at history, how civilizations have a tendency to rise and fall. And if you're all connected to one, and then the whole civilization collapses, then you're all gone. But, you had Christianity start to fall and wane, and then you had Islam come up. You know what I mean? Like, there's different, he gave different, I thought it was a pretty, good answer while he was talking to people advocating for one world government. Pretty brave of him. Noble, I think.
But he's a far-right activist, from what I would say. That's the answer.
Which is funny because didn't he say he voted for Biden?
Yep.
Like,
yep. So
it's all division.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, most people, like you say, like you're almost turning into like a '70s hippie, right? Like you just want to be left alone. Everything else, like you don't want pollution or anything else, but you also don't want to give up comfort and convenience when you don't have to.
Right, not to the extreme where they want to go. Like,
I mean, trees are literally a symbiotic relationship with us. All of the CO2 that we put out in the air, they breathe it in. All the oxygen and nitrogen that they release, we breathe it in.
Right.
So, like, they exhale, we inhale. It's very simple, but yet they've convinced everybody that CO2 is horrible.
Right.
And more CO2 will get us a tropical planet, which we have been before.
And now we're going to, I heard this.
Which I'm not advocating. You know what I mean? Like, I like having 4 seasons.
So we're going to put, this will be interesting and nuts, because we're going to put cannons type things on the moon to stir up the moon dust to block the sun a little bit, which will help with the global warming. I'm like, wait a minute.
So then all the solar panels?
Well, yeah, exactly. They don't work anymore. And so we're back to what? Gas and electricity.
So you're going to use some theoretical physics and all that other good stuff to...
Yeah, you're going to...
I mean, all you got to do is watch The Matrix, and that should give you pause about blocking out the sky, right? That's how they started the war, or that's how they thought they were going to win, and all they did was adapt.
How many times has science been wrong?
I mean, granted, that's a movie thing, right? But still...
And who the hell makes that decision? Who says, yeah, if you're the United States or whatever, you can go up to the moon and block the whole world?
I think some of that's just to get you riled up.
I don't see it. They can't even get a freaking ship there anymore. But supposedly we sent a man to the moon. But now all of a sudden we just not smart enough to do it. I mean, the technology in this phone is more technology in this phone than that first ship they sent there. Yet we can't do it today.
That's one of those things that make you go,
Doesn't it?
It's crazy, Timothy. We live in a crazy world, but I feel like there's hope as long as people start realizing that we don't need the government. We need each other. Like even like liberals, conservatives, progressives, independents, whatever. We all need each other, and we all have to have open discussion and debate. Can't be afraid to say how you're feeling, and then if you lose, you lose. But it needs to be fair.
Right.
Like
but if you go up to anyone, so if you sit down with, you took a liberal and you put all these people in a room, 90% of the things, do you think it's okay, the human trafficking, sex trafficking, and everyone in the room is going to be like, no. Do you believe, that we should do something to help the planet? Everyone in the room is going to say yes. Some are going to believe more and less, but everyone's going to say, yeah, well, of course we should do something because we live here. Obviously, we'd agree on like so many things, but that's what they want because you put everyone in the room, and because you can't agree on every little thing and how you should do it, then
they have to have people be like, well, I don't want to talk to Tim and Steve. They're straight heterosexual white guys. They're part of the problem, right? So there's people who really think that whatever we say is racist, misogynist, and against everybody else. It's like there are people that believe that just because of our skin color and our sexuality.
Isn't that racism?
Not when they do it. Only if you notice something about somebody else that's not straight white heterosexual male, then you're some type of ist. That's the new norm. But that's really not. But that's what they want you to think, and then people buy into that, and they're usually the loudest ones. Because we could have a conversation with most people, but even in a room of random people, there's going to be there'll probably be a far right guy or gal and a far left guy or girl that won't listen. There'll be one or two, but the rest of us will listen and have an open conversation. And then that's whenever you start ignoring that small minority, because at that point they're not helping and they're not ever going to help. Like you got to accept that. And then they don't get what they want because go buy your own land, don't do anything illegal, immoral, and do whatever you want. But don't expect me to do what you want because I don't care what you want.
Right.
You obviously don't care what I want because you're still sitting here yelling at me, telling me to change my mind. So that's on the extremes or whatever. But most people will fall into like you said. And that's where we got to get to. That's why I try not to get too. I get fired up over little things, obviously, because you've all seen it on here. But I really trust that people want to do the right thing. Most people.
True, but as long as they sit there in silence, you're now complacent and you're letting it happen, I guess. Like, so many people are just so stuck in their own little world, they're like, well, it's not affecting me, so I don't want nothing to do with it.
Well, here's my take on it.
It's going to start affecting you.
I think I've said it on the show. If not, I'll say it. If I have, I'll say it again. When the government said that the JFK files could not be read for 60 or 70 years, everybody should have revolted and said, nope, release it now. And I bet there probably was a big movement, but then they just ignore it and they put a news cycle in. They probably had a train derailment or a bomb or, you know what I mean? Like they detract and then everybody kind of forgets about it.
I mean,
that's one way that they do it is they distract you with something else.
But they also don't comply like this.
Like you have, so many ridiculous things on top of the other.
Right.
Can't forget about we need the Epstein file or list, right? Like somebody needs to go down for that. They were trafficking minors to someone.
Right. Don't know who, though.
0, it appears right now. Yeah. 0 have been charged publicly, anyway, that we know about.
You know why that is?
Because
they are the government. They are the high, powerful people that we're talking about right now.
Well, yeah, somebody funded him, and he got the right people there. People started putting stock into celebrities and politicians, and then they're just celebrities are good athletes. They're good actors. Doesn't mean they're good people.
Right. But think about that.
And I'm not saying all are bad people, but you know what I mean? Like, you have the People magazines and all this stuff and, the glamour, the glitz, and they get you all focused on that, and then you stop looking and paying attention that the government just told you can't find out the truth about the vaccines for 70 years. Granted, luckily the judge stopped that, but again, that's a sign that they're hiding something that they don't want you to know. And why don't they want you to know about it? And it's not because you're too ignorant to understand it. You don't have to be a doctor or a scientist to read a research paper because they pretty much dumb it down. They put an introduction, then they get into the whole science thing, and then they get into results and conclusions, and then if people disagree, then you can read that.
The majority of it's common sense.
Right. Like, you're not going to understand all the chemical breakdown and everything else, but they usually put it in there so that you can understand it, so anyone can. Otherwise, what's the point of doing that work?
Right. Right, exactly.
Like if you can only talk about it with 20 other people,
right?
Like the 20 of you going to sit there on that knowledge? No, you want to share it with everybody. So don't buy into the you can't read this and you're not an expert. Like don't give up your agency to somebody that's on the news because you don't know. Like we always say, like if this is true, we don't know I don't even know if Senator Vance is really there in Ohio scraping that water. But if he is, I got issue with that.
Sure he is. He's from Ohio.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like that's why almost everything I say allegedly, because you don't ever know anymore because the AI produces almost realistic looking stuff. You watch the CIA lady say in the 90s they had masks that people could wear that you couldn't spot from 4 feet away. And that was in the 90s. So 30 years later, you think that they have better
manipulate
disguises for people?
They manipulate you all the time.
And I'm not saying that there's people walk around disguises, but I'm just saying that the technology is out there. And so, take everything with a grain of salt and use your own discernment. And most of our viewers do that anyway. So I'm just preaching to the choir. I appreciate y'all listening to me. I put you to sleep there with my preaching.
Told you it was a rough night. Yeah, I don't know. I just, it was another train derailment in Detroit yesterday.
Yeah, there's quite a few things going on. Well, I looked up because we were talking about train derailments, and you were like, they say there's 1,400 a year. For 17 or whatever it is, right? Like, so it's not that big. It's not uncommon to have train derailments.
Said there's 1,000 a year, which I'm like, wait, that'd be like 3 a day, which there's not that many trains.
Well, there might be. Well, yeah. Well, so there's not many train. So think about it though. You have all these side tracks, right? So you might have a derailment where somebody's backing in to get grain, right? So they're off the main rail line, but then they derail,
right? Which isn't, yeah.
But it still counts.
Right.
So I went through my Tor browser and looked up through, I think Denmark, I think Denmark. And so I looked up EU's train stats just for comparison because they rely heavily on trains.
Yes, there are lots of trains in the EU.
Their own research, let me see so I can quote it so everybody knows. It's derailproject.eu results. And just right here it doesn't have the page numbers, there are 500 derailments per year, of which 7% involve dangerous goods. So in all of EU,
so the United
States, they have 500 a year. So the United States either needs to improve its infrastructure, obviously, and maybe we have some exaggeration going on. Because they rely heavily on, they had trains going, but then they probably invest more heavily, I would imagine, over there.
Yeah, I mean, you got train going onto like the English Channel from Europe to, was it France? Yes, yeah. France. I don't know.
So just for comparison's sake, right? So there's 500 in this report on derail, and there's spaces in there, but if you look up derailprojects.eu or derailproject.eu, it should give you.
But the point is, whether there's 1,000, 1, 20, whatever, it doesn't matter. This one was a huge hazardous thing. I still want to know who made the decision to burn it off, thinking that was the better plan. And they may say, listen, it was this, or if we didn't, it would have done this, which would have been worse. Like, that should be in the public's eye. That should be told, like, yeah, had it exploded, it would have covered 3 times the area or something. I don't know. But, like, I don't know. It just don't seem right. And there's a lot of
something's not sitting well. That's why I'm like, allegedly.
And there's no rush to
clean that out.
No.
Like, I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, not that I want, the EPA in my business.
Right.
In this case, you would think that this is what the EPA was designed for, not to dictate what I do with my pond on my property, but to dictate what they do to clean out those spillways so that it doesn't travel further down throughout the rest of the country.
See, that's exactly what the EPA was made for.
Right.
That right there.
And
they're not even
regulating my pond and my swamps or whatever in my property.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm with you on that. The EPA, the one thing it's supposed to do, it's not there.
No. Bunch of bureaucrats.
Which proves the point that you need to get rid of most federal agencies and let everybody rely on themselves, because right now that town appears to be relying on itself and whatever Ohio's doing for it, and Governor DeWine doesn't look like he's doing too much. that I can see and read about. Or
media hasn't really covered this that much. It's getting a little more.
It's getting a little more. Like the
but
last few days.
It took like 10 days for any coverage.
Yeah. So it's bad.
Yeah.
And we need some answers, and we need to figure out how to clean it up.
Yeah. And this very could affect every one of us from that direction, east, south, a little bit to the west.
Yeah, because you have the plume that's floating across east that who knows how far. Maybe it's already gone. I don't really know the whole science behind it, but there's not a lot of, trusted officials giving us a breakdown. Not that I would necessarily trust them anyway, but they're not even trying.
No, they don't.
So
nothing.
That leaves us to our own resolve, and then when you go and look it up, it's bad. It's bad. You don't want it on you. I wish there was a meteorologist that would say, if you have, land or whatever, go cover it, or add ash or baking soda or what. Is there something we can do to help neutralize it in our groundwater or our soil and prevent it from getting to our groundwater? And then all the river tributaries coming off the Ohio River that goes as far west as almost to Colorado, right? Because it feeds into the Missouri at one point. I'm pretty sure there's a little tributary. So it has the potential to be way more deadly or negative impact than what the small town of East Palestine. We want them to be taken care of, but we also want to protect the rest of the country.
Had someone message us on the show, and I think almost thanked us because it's Palestine, and people on the news and media are calling it Palestine.
Wonder why.
They don't want to say Palestine, which is in the Middle East. I don't know. I thought they were saying it because I was saying it wrong. I was like, I don't spell it that way. So
that's I-N-E.
Yes, and I saw a couple people.
Stein would be E-I-N.
Right, or two E's in the end or something like that. Yeah,
that would be Steen.
Palestine is Palestine.
Oh yeah, Palestine would be I-E-N.
So a lot of them have been saying
in
Palestine.
German anyway.
Right.
I did take a year of German.
Right. So East Palestine, and it's not. It's Palestine. I don't know. Freaking media can't even get the name of it.
Hey, at least we got some feedback on our pronunciation.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I don't know. People need to wake the hell up before it's just too late, I guess.
Need to wake up and join together and almost sing Kumbaya and realize that we're all in it to win it together.
Yeah, we need
and that there are communists that have infiltrated. It's almost like the Star Wars movie, Imperial troops have entered the base. Imperial troops have entered the base. They're here.
Yeah.
And they're affecting our life all the way down, probably. And some people probably don't even realize they're espousing communist ideals. And hell, even we may do it every once in a while. Because it's so pervasive.
So, it's crazy the amount of hearings going on in Washington right now. It's I can't even keep up. So yesterday I noticed this guy, Michael Delaney, is trying to become a First Circuit Court appeals judge. And basically no Democrat showed up for it because this guy is such a shitbag that the DOJ put this guy forward, and it's a disgrace to, I think, even the Democrats.
How's the DOJ put it forward? It's the president puts him forward.
Well, they said the Department of Justice or something, but
really?
I don't know. That's what it sounded like. So anyways, this guy represented St. Paul's, where this 15-year-old girl was sexually assaulted, I think raped, and this guy was the lawyer for the school, and he basically had no dignity or anything. He went to release this girl's name, he knew what he was doing. And your job as a lawyer is to defend the school, yes. And that's why I never could be a defense attorney, because I could never honestly defend.
It's brutal whenever someone accused, because I had somebody that I knew, and they tried to accuse her of being a sexual deviant, a lesbian.
You have no soul.
All kinds of things other than just to defend their clients. They just smeared her all over the place, and it wasn't true because I knew her.
This guy is the scum of the earth, in my opinion. But So Howley is questioning him, and Ted Cruz is questioning him, and I want to play it because I want people to, like, because I don't know anything about this guy, I don't know anything about that case either until this come up. But these are the people they're trying to put into judge positions that are going to be important down the road for appeals and everything else. And it's someone like this that you think you want this person in there. It's disgusting, honestly. But check out this.
But just so we're clear.
Yes, go ahead.
Nomination process, Article 3 judges, including justices of the Supreme Court, are appointed by the President with the advice and consent of the Senate. So,
well, yes.
I don't know why they're saying
Senate has to confirm
the DOJ, but so the DOJ might have recommended it to.
I think that's what it was.
To the president,
yes.
But the president's the one that's responsible.
Yeah, Biden
for
put this guy forward.
Yeah, okay, just so we're clear.
Yeah. No, this was a Biden.
Yeah, but you said DOJ. I don't
Yeah.
want to give him a free pass here. He did it.
Yeah. So check out this clip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Delaney, I've been listening to your answers about your conduct in the St. Paul's case, and I have to tell you I'm having a hard time following what it is you're saying. You've said now several times that the school only wanted the court case to be tried in a court of law, not in the media. But your attempt to strip anonymity from Chessie was exactly an attempt to try this case in the media, right? It was an attempt to bring her name forward so everybody would know who she was. She's 16. Everybody would know exactly who she was, could look her up, could threaten her, intimidate her. I mean, this was an attempt to put her squarely into the media spotlight nationally, right?
Senator, thank you for the question. I respectfully disagree that the school's intent in trying to require the lawyers to try the case in the court of law was in any way intended to intimidate any of the parties to the case.
How can you say that when you knew full well that a 16-year-old girl would have her name published, would have reporters, no doubt, in her front lawn, would have people following her around with cameras everywhere? Her family's sitting here today. They've already been through hell. Your motion was an attempt to put them through further hell in order to defend your client, right?
Senator, I was an advocate for the school.
I understand that, but as advocates, I have been too. And as advocates, we make decisions, but we're responsible for those decisions. You made a decision here. You made a decision to try to strip a young girl of her anonymity, and you effectively succeeded because you bullied her into it. So she, unwilling to be intimidated by you, went forward and revealed her own name, which took, by the way, tremendous courage. And I'd just like to honor her for her courage in doing that. But you put her to that choice. You did. That was your choice. So that's fine. You made the choice, but now you're accountable for it. So let's have some accountability here. You deliberately did this in a way that would put her at risk, and that was your intent. Have you read the letter that she submitted to this committee?
I have read the letter that was submitted to this committee.
Let me read some of it to you. She says, and I quote, "I remember so clearly reading Michael Delaney's motion from front to back when I came home from my new high school one day, processing what it meant, and then defiantly stating to my parents that after everything I'd been dragged through, from anonymous death and rape threats on the internet to the betrayal of and backlash from my closest friends at school, I wasn't going to let Michael Delaney's dirty tactics bully me, then 16 years old, into shame and silence." She goes on, and this is important. "When survivors of sexual assault, harassment, and abuse come forward to seek some semblance of justice, there is an army of attorneys with a tried and true playbook of tactics to discredit, pressure, and manipulate survivors and victims into silence." Those were the tactics that you used, Mr. Delaney.
Senator, I respectfully disagree with that characterization of the role I played as an advocate in the case. The school agreed to allow the case to proceed with anonymity. I have...
No, you didn't. You filed a motion that specifically to strip her anonymity. I have it right here. I've read it, and I've read your reasons for doing so. The school didn't like the time that the parents and Chessie filed their lawsuit. You complain that counsel filed the complaints minute before the clerk of the court's office closed on June 1st, 2016. Well, I'm sorry for you, but I don't understand why your inconvenience about the time should mean that this young woman should have to surrender her anonymity and have her life. She's a survivor of sexual assault, let's not forget. That already happened. You knew that. Why should she have to have her life further destroyed because you didn't like the timing of the filing?
The focus of this discussion began when a 15-year-old freshman was sexually assaulted by a senior as part of a campus custom known as Senior Salute, a game where upperclassmen competed to have sex with younger students. In 2015, the culprit was acquitted of felony rape, but found guilty of misdemeanor sexual assault and endangering the welfare of a child. You've repeatedly said you were just an advocate. You were just representing the school, where the school was St. Paul's, one of the most prestigious boarding schools in America. And yet, in your representation of St. Paul's, it was St. Paul's that was the victim. You portrayed the school that a sitting U.S. Senator, indeed a member of this committee, attended. Former Secretary of State John Kerry attended. Former FBI Director Robert Mueller attended. A member of the Kennedy family and 3 Vanderbilts have attended. And in your view, that school was the victim, not the 15-year-old girl who was sexually assaulted. Your response to Senator Hawley was, I was just representing my clients. Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Delaney, you represented your clients very poorly. Because as a lawyer, if your client is a school and they've decided their strategy is to out the girl that was sexually assaulted while in their care and custody, that school is doing a crappy job, and the lawyer who goes in and says, sir, yes, sir, happy to do it, is doing a lousy job representing his client. Now, just a moment ago, you answered questions from Senator Corner. I actually wrote down a couple of things. Earlier in the day, you acknowledged very kindly that the Prout family, I'm quoting you, the Prout family had a strong interest in anonymity. And then just a moment ago, you answered Senator Corner, I wrote it down again, the school did not file a motion to remove anonymity. Mr. Delaney, that testimony is false. I want to read from the motion you filed that is right here. This is on page 2. The school recognizes that JD has an interest in protecting her anonymity. Now, notice you told this committee the Prout family had a strong interest. Oddly enough, the word strong was not in your pleading. You graciously conceded they have an interest. Okay? However, in balancing that interest against the prejudice to the school and the public interest in disclosure, the following common sense measures should be taken to mitigate the prejudice to the school, the victim, elite private boarding school. The school shall be entitled to identify plaintiffs and JD during discovery. Plaintiffs and JD should not be allowed to proceed under pseudonyms at the trial of the matter. You asked the court, strip her anonymity. And you just told Senator Cornyn, I didn't ask the court to strip her anonymity. Why did you give a false answer to Senator Cornyn?
Senator Cruz, thank you for the question. I did not in any way intend to provide any misleading answers. The section of the brief that you're referencing involves the use of a pseudonym at trial as opposed to at pretrial phases of the case. And I'm not aware of...
And so your view is it's common sense, that's the word you used, that a teenager, the victim of sexual assault, should be stripped of a pseudonym. That's just a common sense step.
No, I'm saying that First Circuit precedent treats the use of fictitious names before a jury at a trial quite differently than it does at pretrial phases.
So Mr. and Mrs. Prout are here today. Thank you for coming. You and your daughter have been victimized now 3 times. First, on that horrific night. Secondly, when Mr. Delaney, representing the school, went into court and tried to strip your daughter's anonymity, tried to out her against her wishes. And third, when the Biden administration chose to reward him by nominating him to the Court of Appeals. I would encourage everyone to read the letter that Chessie Proud has filed. And Mr. Delaney, there is a reason why virtually every Democrat has skipped this hearing. They're embarrassed about this nomination.
So, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. When they answer questions and then they lie, it should be automatically disqualified immediately.
Well, here's the thing that bothers me is, so like, I guess I told you that story, right? So in the military, the only thing, like if you get somebody's coming at you with tough questions or whatever, and you want to avoid and you want to try to de-escalate, but it usually escalates, you like stick to like 4 responses. Yes, sir, no, excuse, sir, and sir, I didn't understand. One of the first things they taught me at basic. And so I use that, and usually it works against me, right? Because it just makes the other person mad. But usually you're held to account. There's no, you can't, eventually you have to answer the questions, the point I'm getting at. And when you watch this, and you watch any other for the most part, and you saw when we put those clips on with like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then they're like, yes or no, yes or no. I don't like, if they won't answer, they just keep going over it because they're trying to justify, because they realize when they say yes that they're going to look like jackasses.
Yeah.
Because now the truth is getting the flashlight put on it, and now everybody gets to know that you're a jackass. And so they want to avoid that. When in the reality is, everybody just wants an apology. We all make mistakes. This case, this guy should have said, look, I'm not proud of it, but that's what I had to do to win to try to win the case for my client. It's not only me that does it, but anybody else that does it. This is a standard practice, is to try to name them so that they don't go to trial because they don't want their name out there.
Right.
And then we can all say, well, you're a piece of garbage, man. That's such horse shit that, not even bullshit. That's horse shit. And that's what he did. He was totally trying to win his case. He was doing whatever he thought he needed to do possible, and own it.
Well, then he lies to Congress.
And that's what Hallie was saying, like, just own it.
Right.
Like, you did it, own it. And he wouldn't own it. He was trying to act like it wasn't as bad as what they're saying. And he's like, no. I know what you did. This is what you did. You did it to win at all costs. You didn't think about this. You had no morals or standards because your sole purpose was to win for the school, and you did whatever it took. And you just need to answer it that way.
Right.
And because you're not, I'm not going to nominate.
That's your job. He
right,
did
like
his job. That's
good or
fine.
bad, that's
exactly.
what you did.
But now you want to be a judge on a First Circuit Court of Appeals. No, I'm sorry. Your past is going to follow you. And what does that say if we're like, yeah, it's okay, we're going to confirm this guy? What does it say to every woman or man or anyone out there that's ever been sexually assaulted and what this guy did? It says, oh, well, you get rewarded with a judgeship for doing this. That's what it says to me.
Right.
And then this girl, who's not a girl anymore, but she had to relive it through it happened to her the first time. She had to relive it through a court, and this guy's trying to get the school out of it. And now reliving it a third time because they're trying to confirm this guy to a high judge position. And first of all, it's a disgrace that this dude was put forward by anyone. And just as surprising with Biden, it doesn't. But it's just disgrace.
Especially like if the Democrats knew to stay away from it. If they knew,
Ted Cruz said,
so that shows you
Democrats here.
So that shows you the rift occurring between Biden's days are numbered with his own party if they're not already up. But it's not good. It's just a bad I keep saying like a lot today and the other day. It does not bode well for anyone if you can't just own up. We all make mistakes. The hardest thing to do is to admit it. But once you do and you apologize, we're more forgiving. When you don't acknowledge that mistake,
right,
we don't care about you. Like we lose respect for you. Like you can regain respect and trust when you're like, oh my God, I did everything I could. I regret it. I feel bad. I owe this young lady an apology and all sexuals. And then maybe he'd have a chance. He probably still wouldn't get on there. But to me, that's the kind of guy that, like, if I saw him on the street, I'd be like, hey, man, nice apology. Appreciate that. Otherwise, if I see this guy on the street, I'm going to walk across the other side. I got nothing for this guy.
They probably want to get this guy in so that, when the list finally comes out of all the friggin' rapists out there with all the young girls that Epstein was selling, this guy will have some sympathy or something.
That's good.
Yeah, follow how the pattern goes, right?
Yeah, nice observation.
But here's the thing. Democrats
I like it.
should be there asking these tough questions. I don't care who put the nominee through.
Right. They should be equally.
Yeah. It shouldn't be, we're Democrats, so we're going to softball this because the president wants this person. Your job is to represent the people. Just like last night when I said, my job is to represent the town of Newport, not you, the construction company. So it's the same thing for this, but they never, ever, ever do.
Because they're influenced by their donors.
Yeah. Enough. No more donors.
Which you would, yeah.
No more lobbyists. Get rid of it all.
Yeah, the lobbyists need to go.
None.
That's not very American.
Term limits.
That's not very constitutional, I don't think. Like, they didn't write it as, hey, they warned against letting, you know what I'm saying? Like, we've had warnings in the past about all of this stuff, and yet here we are still talking about it. Almost as if it's not going to change unless...
Groundhog Day.
Yeah. You got to revamp the voting system, or you don't have to revamp it, but everybody should say yes. We want a hand recount, whatever, to validate. Do the computers, whatever, but then
You just have to have enough people show up to vote.
then validate it. Though,
If you
but
get-
you know what I'm saying? Like it should be audited. Right. Both sides or whoever's running should be like, yes, audit it. That's because I'd want to make sure that I'm really the winner.
Right. But it's hard to cheat if 90% of the people show up because it's hard to. Well, how do we have 150% of the vote? Oh, like it doesn't take
Yeah, that gets
days.
whitewashed quite a bit for people. Like it
doesn't take days to count ballots like in Arizona. It took days for her to lose because the Democrats need to know how many ballots they needed to find.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it happened then. It happened during 2022.
Hey, the 13 counties, or how many did Biden win? Like 13 or 18? Yeah. So 18 counties control the fate of the U.S., the United States of America. That's what that tells you. So if that's true,
right,
that should be concerning.
81 million votes. That dumbass.
And like 13 or 18 counties, right? It wasn't very many.
He got 25% of the counties that Obama won, and Obama previously had like the highest ever or whatever.
I just want to make sure I don't get fact checked on this, but
no,
it wasn't many.
I could see Obama getting more counties. I could see him breaking records because he was the first black president. Whatever. Yep, totally get it. I can see numbers too because people hated Trump, but that dude didn't get 81 million votes.
So Biden won the most total votes and the fewest total counties of any president-elect ever.
So those counties had the highest voter turnout in the history of those counties, like forever. Don't believe it.
He won 17% of counties.
17%.
Or no, so Biden won 477. Or this is a fact check thing, so.
God only knows what that's really like.
Oh, their fact check is just Trump lost. That's their fact check. It doesn't matter. So they're not fact checking
they
the
ain't fact
counties.
checking anything.
They're just saying the fact is Trump lost.
Right.
Like, stop looking into it.
Right.
That's on USA Today, by the way. When we do the show, I try to, unless I let you know I'm on tour, I go to.
And for the record, Trump lost, Trump won, whatever. This isn't about Trump.
Right, exactly.
This is about fair elections. This is about, let's logically look at it and say, could this dude get that many votes? From his basement, when you've got 50,000 people going to a Trump rally and you've got 50 people going to a Biden one, he can't put two sentences together. And then think about it.
He barely won. He only won the Democrat nomination because they dropped out. It was because
Sanders would have beat him again.
It was because I always forget her name. Pocahontas dropped out.
Warren, yeah.
Warren. Well, like the timing of that made it so that, but Harris was polling at 1% amongst Democrats. Like, come on.
She couldn't make the stage because she didn't pull enough, and that's the vice president now.
And she set some pretty brutal things about Biden. If you listen to what she even said during the debates, man, like
I literally said it.
she hasn't been that coherent since that debate, by the way, when she punked him out or called him out, rightfully so.
I am on record before it all happened. I said Biden will get into the race late, like he did. Biden will win. Okay? And what happened? Biden won.
Do we have this? Do we have this on videotape? Otherwise, this is just.
My friend Linda will verify that.
All right, we're gonna have to get Linda on the phone.
Call her up. Did he really say that?
Have to fact check you. Get USA Today out here.
Sure enough. Boom.
You're a soothsayer.
It's not hard to see.
No.
It's not.
Well, I mean, you could watch the debates where it was Trump versus Biden and the moderators.
Yes.
Like every debate was like Trump versus, like they were all defending him. Like, what?
I mean, think about it.
They would argue with Trump for Biden.
Yes. And if you're...
Which
is
you're
not
not
how
supposed
it's
to do that.
work.
You're supposed to just keep your mouth shut, let Biden versus, and then at the end, if you want to...
No, I remember, I think it was Chris Wallace. Well, actually, let's talk about that. And I'm like, wait a minute. But whatever. But it's the whole thing. So if you're a Democrat, okay, and I know a bunch of them, and I know a lot of them that were done after this. So in 2016, your guy Bernie got screwed.
Oh, yeah. Like
Clinton took it. Wasn't his. It should have been Bernie.
And Bernie would have won in 2020 the nomination.
In 2020, he had more steam. He was more popular, and he would have won that. But the system is rigged against you. So wake up, Democrats, because it's rigged against you too.
It's rigged against Republicans and Democrats.
Yes, everybody. But that's what they try to do. Oh, it's no. You should be pissed.
Our problem is that because life under Trump was easier, and so we were like, hey, I'd rather have Trump.
Right.
And so everybody's like, oh, you support Trump? You're an idiot, moron, white trash. Like, literally, there are people who think that just because we defend Trump. And anytime, like yesterday, wasn't it? I pointed out to, like, he's a jackass because he was like, congratulations, Nikki Haley, good job. And then, like, 20 minutes later, he tweeted out, like, something 180 degrees, not like good luck, but you're an idiot, moron, and I can't believe you're running. Like, that kind of stuff doesn't unite many people. On Republican or Democrat. That's the problem.
I hate to say
I like his policies, but he's
he just his ego is so big.
He can't help it.
He can't. I'm sick of hearing from him. Honestly, I really am. But at the same time, it's like he comes back in and they're going to go after him. I think he's the only one that's got what it takes to take that heat.
Well, the thing is he appears to be an outsider. He's not a career politician. And so that's why we didn't have any new wars, right? Because that's why he got rid of, he had that whole photo op, and I don't know if it was true or not, but he got rid of all those regulations. Mm-hmm. Because the regulations contain loopholes that make life harder for me and you, but easier for people who can afford lawyers and big corporations.
Yeah.
And that's not how it's supposed to work.
And it's the same fear tactics they use every freaking time.
Awful.
They're going to take Social Security and Medicaid from you. Republicans, this is what they're going to do. No, they're not. Jesus Christ, I've been hearing this since I was in school. Oh, we're going to run out. We got no money. It's going to run out. It's going to run out. How long?
Eventually it will if we don't get the birth rate to go up.
Yeah. But
which drives me nuts because you got all this, don't have kids, you don't want to be tied down with a family. We don't have enough workers, so we need to bring in all these illegal aliens. Or migrants.
Yeah, migrants.
So you're speaking out of both sides of their mouth, and if you're paying attention, you should realize that it's all hot garbage. Don't listen to them. Trust your instincts. Be a good person, and vote out all garbage as best you can, and fix the voting system so that it's at least audited properly. Disconnect the machines from the internet. Get foreign ownership of voting machines out of there. Get foreign ownership of land out. Get the Chinese police station that's operating in New York City. Shut that down. Do you know that?
No.
Yeah, they got their own police force in Chinatown in New York City. I'm pretty sure I read that. Let me just make sure I'm not a liar, since that's a big accusation.
That's a big claim.
China police station. And this is on normal internet. It spies on dissenters. This is in the New York Post. So they know about it. They have a secret police station in New York. It's all over there. So why are we allowing a foreign country to operate a police station in our nation? Where is our sovereignty? Again, rhetorical question. Biden is compromised. His regime of clowns that he has working against us is totally compromised by Ukraine and China. If that's not clear to everybody by now, then your bias towards Democrats or Biden is clouding your judgment. And I say all this, not to say that Republicans aren't any better, right? Like I told you earlier, I'm an independent.
Yeah.
This guy's bad, though. He's in right now, and so he has my ire, you know.
He's owned by China. For all we know, we're giving our country up right now.
Yeah.
I honestly wonder. All these mysterious, train derailments lately, balloons overhead.
Well, see, here's what drives me crazy as someone who dedicated my life to what I thought was protecting and defending this country. If the allegations are true that a guy on the Intelligence Committee, Swalwell, was having an affair with a Chinese spy, that Dianne Feinstein was driven for 20 years by a Chinese spy, where are the repercussions and who is being held to account for this?
They both should be in jail.
Yeah, and now the here's the thing though, right? Like they should be in jail if they knew about it. Swalwell hasn't acknowledged it, apologized, said that it was a bad decision that he made. That's again, there's no accountability.
They put him back on the Intelligence Committee.
Yeah, and then he's sitting there crying to the country like he's a victim.
Right. And in some countries, they would have executed him as a traitor.
Well, I mean, depending on especially if they have evidence that he gave up information he wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
So that drives me crazy. Is like he really allegedly had this relationship with Feng Feng.
It's not even
It's a
alleged.
well-known fact that
It's
she's a
just
spy
facts.
or whatever.
Right.
Dianne Feinstein's driver for 20 years, Chinese spy.
And
Did you know that?
You had said something.
Adam Schiff making up lies on the floor, all of them knowing that the Russia dossier was fake, made up by Clinton. Everybody knew, the FBI, John McCain, all these people put it out there knowing that it was false to undermine our country. That's pretty close to treason, if not treason.
It's
treason. Right? I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't.
It's treason.
It's definitely subversive.
You're
It's
selling your country out. Biden is the biggest treasonous freaking sellout there is, and he's the president.
That's what it appears when you look through Marco Polo. Like it doesn't appear that there's
He's
like
the big guy,
he's just
10% for the big guy.
There's more than that on there. There's more, like that whole family.
Yeah.
And so that's to me is
They're
so
scumbags.
if I can see this, I guess to me that's where like everything makes you start questioning everything. So if we can see this, we can read about it. Why isn't someone holding them to account? Is everything compromised that much to where even a local sheriff can't hold somebody to account anymore?
Yep. I believe so.
Well, that's scary. That's not good for us.
No, and that's what I'm trying
That
to
means
say.
that you're going to start driving an electric car that the government can shut down.
Right.
You're going to go to digital currency. You don't get any cash anymore. And so if you're not acting right, we'll cut off your monetary supply until you do act right.
And these are all things that are in the works. Digital currency is. So at what point are you going to stand up? Are you going to stand up now, or are you going to be like Germany?
Put it on your kids. Let your kids deal with it.
Right. Is that what you're going to do?
No.
Because it's too late then.
Your
Because it's
grandkids.
almost too late.
It appears that way. I still have hope that there's enough good guys out there. I served with some good people. But
You should start.
I don't stay in contact with them, so they may all be retired too. It may all be woke.
You probably should make some phone calls.
What are they called? Furries? Or the couple of pictures of those colonels with their dog masks on. That I don't know if that was real or not, but if it, I told you my story of Colonel J. Record, my dauntless commander. That's a man that can motivate soldiers.
Yeah, but they're trying to take those away from you too.
Yeah, like he should have made general officer. I won't get into whatever because we're on here, but he should have been a general officer. He may have made it later, but he didn't make it when he should have. For reasons that I won't say on TV, but it has probably to do with me. He looked just like me and you, family, good guy. I mean, he was awesome. He could call me up right now, be like, Steve. And I would say, dauntless, sir. And he would be like, no fear. And I would have no fear. Anyway, that's my hope is that there are still men and women serving like that know right and wrong, that know American history, that study the Constitution, because we hand out constitutions every Constitution Day, and they're supposed to give a 1 hour long class. Like I was talking to you about all the different things we do, that's like probably the only good one is teaching young soldiers the Constitution, which hopefully they still do. I don't know.
I doubt it. I don't know.
But up until whenever I retired, 5 years ago, they did.
I mean, you swear an oath to the Constitution.
Yeah, not to the flag. You obey the orders of the president, but only if they're legal.
And if they violate
But
the
your oath is
Constitution,
to the Constitution. It's not to the president. It's not to a political party. It's not to the flag. It's to the Constitution, a document that captured the spirit of this country.
Yeah. So every soldier does that.
1787.
Police officer does that. Politician does that. I swear an oath to the Constitution. And they break it every single day.
They do. Like you can see
Every
video of them
day.
like infringing on people's rights.
Mm-hmm.
Cops do it.
Yep.
Politicians do it. Judges do it.
No, we're going to get into judges. We're going to get into judges soon. I told Steve.
Is that today or next
No.
issue?
Nah.
We're going to do some research on some
We're going to do
judges.
some research because we're going to get into judges because this one is kind of what brought it out. And you ask any police officer, what's the biggest issue out there? And because we arrest them, we do our job, we build the case, and then judges pat them on the back and let them go. And it's not just here.
Well, there's
in
no more
Hampshire.
tough love.
There's nothing. So it's time that judges are held accountable. I told you, I was like, well, we better make sure.
I mean, it starts at the bottom and the top for that. I don't know where you start because
You got to start at the bottom.
you have parents that won't even hold their kids to account. They think it's funny if they're throwing stuff, cussing, disrespectful towards. Be respectful of people. We make jokes, because part of this is to entertain or whatever.
Right.
But anybody that comes up and talks to me, even if they're in clown makeup, I will talk to them like they have with dignity and respect. I may not agree with anything that they say, and it will take everything in my body not to be repulsed, not because of sexuality or anything. I'm talking like from actual clown makeup all the way down to heavy makeup, just that
I don't know.
a drag queen is wearing, right? Like
I could see you taking the pink hair, purple hair, whatever hair, but
I will have a conversation,
I think you'll lose
but
it with the clown.
the clown, yeah, I might lose with the clown, the actual clown,
I don't think you can handle the clown.
especially with the music, the circus music, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, whatever that
Red
one.
balloon. I'm like, yeah, Steve, go have a conversation with that person.
No,
Let me know how it goes.
I can't have I don't even like. I told you this before. Like the Kansas City Royals mascot was trying to dance and get me involved, and I'm like, I am going to punch you, man. You need to get away from me. I don't trust you. I don't know what's going on behind that mask. I don't know who you are. Like my own personal issues. But it's Friday, Tim. It's going to be a good weekend. We got rain.
It's Friday.
Bringing in the chloride or whatever. Hopefully not.
My daughter's birthday party's tomorrow, and her third birthday is on Sunday. Makes me very sad because it's going so fast.
Her vocabulary. She's got a very good vocabulary now she's going to be 3, but even at 2 years old, I was impressed with.
She knows her ABCs. She counts. She kept missing number 2 for some reason. But she corrected that. She's smart. She knew that was a moose. Like, oh, that's moose. She just.
Nikki's our nephew, but our nephew, her sister's son. She took a video and he had, I don't know, one of those like Alexa or Google or whatever, and he was just sitting there asking all these math questions, like 98 plus 75, and it would tell him the answer, and he'd be like, cool. Thanks. But he's like talking to the machine. He's like 5 or 6. And so, I don't know. It's just a cute video of him just being interested in math and asking, and he's probably memorizing that in the subconscious. It'll make math probably easier for him, just sitting there. That's what he does for fun. He's not asking weird, stupid questions, right? He's sitting there studying math. And like, 2 numbers plus 2 numbers, that's advanced for a 6-year-old. I mean, granted, he's not doing it, but it's just that he was interested in it. I just thought that was funny.
No, like, if anyone wants to know, like, the reason that I personally do this show is because I look at my young daughter every day, and I look at that fact, like, my wife's pregnant, and we're having another girl, and I look at that, and I look at the future of what will this be, when they get my age, when they get in high school and whatever. And, like, that's what's important to me. It's not about me. It's not about any of that. It's not
you don't need any clout?
No, I don't.
You're not clout chasing?
No. I don't need a pat on the back. I don't need anything.
Well, that's why I started getting involved, was for Zeta, my daughter, because I don't want her dealing with people's stupidity because they didn't read.
But I look at
and research on their own outside of what the government tells you. Go find something.
But
be your own person.
I look at my 2-year-old daughter, which this is the last show I could say 2-year-old because she'll be 3, and I think about the future with her as like, oh, what are like some drag queen, transsexual, whatever, gonna read to her in school, and that's never gonna happen ever because I'm responsible. Like, I won't let it happen. It won't happen. I think about the things for their future, and like everyone out there needs to be thinking about that. It's what we always did, right? You got to plan for the future for your kids and everything. And what the hell are we doing? What kind of environment do we want your kids to grow up in? And I don't know. Like, it's scary. It's scary about like where we are right now, and like our generation isn't even in power yet. It's still 80-year-old people that should have been long gone. Your generation should be
Generation X. When it takes over, I would suspect Generation X will be like, all right, rude awakening, everybody.
I would hope.
Welcome to our childhood.
Right.
You're on your own until dusk.
Yeah, right.
Don't die.
But what future are you going to have for your kids if you just keep letting it go and not getting involved and saying, enough's enough? You're not going to put these kids in my school. You're not or these people in my school. There's a story we'll have next week we'll talk about this next week with someone who's going to come on the show. And, in Concord, there's I don't even know, this art teacher in Chris McCullough school, so it's around young children, that, has videos on Twitter or whatever talking about getting penises, and he dresses in women's clothes. Like, this whole thing, like, what world do we live in that all of a sudden is like, oh, that's fine.
Like, even as an adult, right, as a guy that's not tied down to a political party, like, I don't care if that guy goes home and dresses up like a woman.
Give a shit what he does.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
not around my kids.
Yeah, like that. Now you're crossing a barrier, because I have no desire to talk about my sexuality ever with kids. No. Like, there's like that would never even cross my mind as like a topic that I would broach.
Right. But
I'm supposed to accept that because you want to, then you have the right to talk to a young child about things.
No, you don't. You can do whatever the hell you want in your own house as long as you don't hurt somebody else. I don't care. Like, we talk about the transsexual thing on here all the time, and I don't buy into that crap. I don't buy into the whole pronoun stuff. It's male, it's female. That is all it is. That is all it'll be. Some doctor can cut off your dick and turn it inside out and say you have a vagina, but you still have X chromosomes. You're still a male. End of story. There is nothing in between. And now that doesn't mean, oh, well, Tim hates those people, blah, blah, blah. I don't care what you do. Don't do it around me. Don't get near my kids. What you do in your own home, I don't care. I have tattoos. Some people don't like tattoos. That's their business. That's their right. But I like tattoos. I have tattoos.
Right. You're not out there trying to convince a
No,
6-year-old they
I'm
need
not.
tattoos.
Or let's say you need to mutilate your body because you're 8 years old and you think that, I really think I should be a boy because I like to play with trucks. And no.
Well, yeah, if that's what you want, wait till you're 18 and then.
Yes. And once you're 18, if that's what you want to do, I don't agree with it. I don't think it's okay. But that's your right as a human being. Go ahead. Go crazy. Do whatever you're going to do. Don't expect me to fix it later on for you. Don't expect me to.
My tax dollars.
Well, they need therapy and we need to pay for it. Well, no, that's not my problem. It's your problem. But what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, because you'll get canceled by somebody today. They'll never want to talk to you again because of just what you said. And what I heard was reasonable request.
Yeah.
Leave children alone.
Yeah.
Then once you're old enough to make decisions for yourself, have at it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because you're not talking about your sexuality with any child.
No.
Like we talked about, you would go to jail.
Right.
Up until 2 years ago, you'd have went to jail.
Yeah. You still
Rightfully
would go
so.
to jail.
Well, you would because you're straight.
Yeah. Right.
You're not a disadvantaged group.
Yeah.
You have no victim card.
Yeah.
You got to work on your brand. That's from South Park last night. I'm a big South Park fan, but they talk about brand, and it was funny. Every time they were talking about developing your own personal brand, like it's a contractor or whatever, he's hired, and it's like 2 or 3 things, and then the last one's always victim. So, like, whatever your brand is, you got to be a victim. And unfortunately, you and I don't qualify for that. I should, though. I got a paralyzed face, so maybe that makes me more of a victim than you.
That's true. You should use that.
Yeah.
I would. Need some advantage. You're disadvantaged in every other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's interesting topics we talked about today, Timothy.
It is. I guess at the end of the day, I guess you just have to ask yourself, what kind of world do you want to live in? And
do you want to work together with people, or do you want to stay divided over stupid silliness?
right. And this is more about right and wrong. This isn't about, left and right, black and white, male, female. This is about none of that. This isn't about, well, I believe in God, you don't believe in God. It's not about any of that.
Yeah.
You don't have to believe in any of that stuff and still know that, you wouldn't take your young child to some
Strip
sex club. Exactly. you wouldn't do it. And you wouldn't do it because it's not right. So why is it right that suddenly it's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this and this? No, you're not. Over my dead body, we'll do it with my kids. And that's a factual statement.
Yeah, you got to defend, like, everything I've ever done was for, Zeta and Nikki.
Yeah.
My family. And, mom, dad, brother, whatever. But, like, my family is first, right? Like, protecting my daughter is paramount to everything else in my life.
It's time for people in this country to take a stand.
And other people's kids. Like, I have a sense of duty because of whatever, my conditioning and my programming, going through basic training, and, like, I feel like I have a duty to try to help people. And I see some serious craziness going on that people won't speak up about, or maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so.
There should be riots every day. Millions of people.
Well, protest, but not riots.
Well, yeah, sorry, protest. Let me change that. Protest every day, demanding the list of Epstein's clients and demanding justice for what he's done to all those young girls, and I believe some boys too. There's no justice for it. What if it was your kid? What if it was your kid?
I would feel, I would be asking the same thing you are. It's like, does anybody care? Yeah. Like, do I have anyone on my side? You have us on your side if you are a victim and you need help. Reach out.
Yeah.
Of Epstein.
Because if my child was a victim of Epstein,
or anyone,
he wouldn't have, not hung himself in jail because he never would have made it to jail. He never would have made it to court.
No, he's pretty hard to get to out there on that island.
Yeah. Could be done. But here we are. How many years later now? I mean, Ghislaine's been in jail for like a year now, and 65 years.
I think we're getting close to it. That, or they're just ramping it up. Like, this just seems like
they're probably trying to destroy as much as they can, because if
they're probably trying to figure out who are the 25 people that are the least productive of our crew.
Correct.
And let's throw them out there.
Yes.
It's your turn to take one for the team.
Because probably the thousands on the list that would take down most of the country's elite will never get.
Well, it's interesting because they always talk about his flight log to his island, but he had properties like New Mexico, Florida.
Ghislaine was in freaking Bradford, New Hampshire.
20 miles from us.
And the people say, like neighbors say, that black SUVs come out of there all the time. And who drives black SUVs?
Usually government or security of either one.
And it was paid cash, like 1.2 million or something, or whatever it was. A lot cash.
There's a lot of weirdness around Ghislaine. She's got like a submarine license. Like, what are they doing? They got submarines on that rich side of things. Those 300.
Maybe.
Makes you think.
I don't know.
I might be wrong. That might just be a conspiracy, but I've seen it a few times. That she had a submarine. She could pilot the submarine. And she had like a ocean floor country that was recognized, or I don't know, there's weird stuff. I don't know if that's true or not.
Oh, a lot of weird stuff with her. I mean,
they had so much money to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah. Her dad and Rupert.
And he started off as a substitute teacher in a high school, and the next thing you know, he's a big investment banker. It's weird.
Yeah. Anyways.
Not that I was a substitute teacher. I'm just saying I don't have a career line to an investment banking job.
No.
Maybe selling some tomato sauce. Tomato sauce. Sorry, cough.
Yeah. Anyways.
Hey, this is what is it? Some type of crazy Friday. What's a F word for alliteration? Not a fun Friday. This was a frenetic Friday.
Fucked up Freaky Friday. And listen, anyone who's offended by the show, I don't care. But it's the plume of toxic chemicals flying overhead that
made you a little woozy.
Yeah, it affected my judgment today. No one seems to care about. Whatever.
Yeah. Prove you're wrong, right?
Yeah. But as long as I go get my Prius and drive home, all's right with the world.
I think more people are thinking like us.
Let's hope.
It's more than half. I mean, 60% disapprove of Biden. So I thought it was higher than that, but the other day I saw something. Actually, it was probably
like 73.
That's what it was, but now it's at like 58% disapproval.
73% of the country believes that he's hurt the country, like financially or whatever, which that number should be like 99%. But
well, look at the people on the street asking these young men and women these questions, and all you got to do is like,
dude, my favorite one is the guy that's like, did you hear that, like, they just found some triceratops and they want to hunt them, and I want you to sign a petition that, outlaws hunting of triceratops? And a lot of them are like, dude, shut up. Like, they've been gone 300 million years. And a lot of them are like, oh, yeah, that's not right. Yeah, I'll sign that for you. And I'm like, that person right there, like, you shouldn't be able to vote. You probably should be in a rubber room because you have no...
Well, they need a civics class.
Civics?
They need a science, civics.
And this dude had a picture of a dinosaur on his shirt.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
So that might have been fake.
No.
That had to have been made up. Some of that stuff I think is staged, but some of it I really feel like there's some morons out there. It's probably 50-50, 60-40. But some of it's got to be staged. Like the guy that's always like, yes. You ever seen that guy? What do we celebrate on the 4th of July? And they're like, Halloween or whatever, something like that. And he's like, yes. So some of those have got to be fake, but maybe not.
I hope so. All right, guys. Have a great weekend.
No meme of the day?
No meme. I didn't even prepare that far.
All right.
The show's run long as it is. We've lost everyone halfway.
Yeah, there's no one left because they don't. Our chapters don't even work after the 8th topic.
Yeah, blacklisted on freaking YouTube. All right, thank you for watching the Tim and Steve show. Thank you, Doug Ring, for sponsoring the show. Yeah, we'll be back Monday with you and see what else we can talk about.
Doug Ring's towing and recovery.
Saved my ass so many times this year. It's been unbelievable. He actually sent me some stuff we're going to talk about on the show on Monday. So, yeah, we'll talk to you Monday.
Artlist.io